Happening now on Grid Tonight, SpeedCafe.com is reporting that Coca-Cola and Erebus Motorsport have parted ways. What does it mean for the championship-winning team after losing their primary sponsor? The late Dan Weldon's sons continue to advance in their young racing careers. Should we expect them to be championship contenders in their respective series? Rajah Caruth is moving to Spire Motorsports this year. What should we expect from him in his second full season in a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lamont. With me is Joshua Birch and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Evening to you, evening, Matt. Now, continuing the stunning development regarding the 2023 Repco Supercar Champions, SpeedCafe.com first reported that Coca-Cola, the primary sponsor of Erebus Motorsport, has parted ways with the team. In a statement provided to Speed Cafe, Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific partners said they've decided to end their partnership with Erebus effective immediately, wishing their team and drivers well with the upcoming season. They've also made it clear that the split with Erebus does not affect their other existing agreements with Supercars or Australian Motorsport in general. To read the full statement, we provided a link to the Speed Cafe article in the video description. Now, besides losing Coca-Cola, Erebus also lost sponsorship from Shaw and Partners, South Cross Truck Rentals. As you can see right here on the screen, this photo from Erebus Motorsport is Jack LeBroc's car from pre-season testing at Winton this week. The Erebus Chevrolet Camaro showed up with a white and black livery with few visible sponsors. At this time, the team haven't said anything about reports relating to parting ways with defending Supercars champion Brodie Kostecki or losing several major sponsors. They've been continuing to post on their social media pages like nothing serious is going on behind the scenes. Kobe, starting with you on this one. After seeing Coca-Cola part ways with Erebus, are you concerned how the team is going to survive the 2024 season?
Well, Josh, this story kind of reminds me of that meme, with the little dog in the room is on fire and it's saying this is fine. There's not that there's nothing going on. This is exactly how the situation seems, and multiple media outlets in Australia have reported and confirmed that Coca-Cola will indeed part ways with Erebus Motorsport, no longer be their primary sponsor. And you can see right here on the screen, that Jack LeBroc's car you mentioned, Josh. I've been watching the Erebus cars go around the track, them preseason testing, and it's just really weird not to see them in the Coca-Cola colors. It's good that there's some sponsors still on the car, but the white and black paint scheme, it looks kind of bland. Wondering like what's going on next. And after seeing, Coca-Cola decide to pull the plug after whatever in the world is going on between the team and Brodie Kostecki, I am wondering, like what you were saying, like how are they going to survive in 2024? But I know Barry Ryan, the CEO of Erebus Motorsport, know you're going to talk about him in just a little bit. He's basically saying, the team is continuing to march forward, because they basically have a job to do in 2024. Go out there, do their best each week to continue to compete for wins and championships. Based on everything that's happened so far in the big storm cloud hanging above their heads, I don't really know how they're going to be able to focus on the championship season coming up in 2024 when we get started in just a couple of weeks' time with the Bathurst 500.
Yeah, exactly, Kobe. And to pick up on your "this is fine" meme thing, there's just from Speed Cafe again, literally just before we went on air tonight, a story from Daniel Herrero, who's been speaking to team principal Brad Tremaine at Erebus off the back of that preseason test, and he said it's all good. It's as if nothing has changed. We are a real close knit team, and with everything going on, everybody thinks that everything's falling apart, but it's not. Well, they're losing sponsors left, right, and centre. Last season, with the new car and the new formula as such with supercars, they were the team to beat all year. Kostecki was brilliant for most of the year, especially at the Bend where he swept the weekend, went on to win the championship. The 2023 season will have the Coca-Cola race. It was the Coca-Cola Racing by Erebus. That was the team name for last year, and they will always have that on the history books. But this whole fallout over the last 7 to 9 days, however long it's been since the story broke beginning of last week. It's just been very, very bizarre. We were just talking, Kobe, before we went on air. Is Kostecki going to come back for the Grand Prix supports at Melbourne, which is mid-March? Who will they fit in? They've got Todd Hazelwood coming in, as we talked about on the show last week, for Bathurst, which is only a week and a half away, 2.5 weeks away, should I say, for the 50 Bathurst 500, the opening round. But will they get this Kostecki, whatever it is, ironed out and sorted by then, or not? And they'll need. It was going to be one of those situations, I think, where we've seen this before, where they'll pick up sponsors through the year, hopefully, and that'll keep them going. But it's very, very strange to see the championship winners with a very bland-looking car, as you saw the picture of JLB's Camaro. There it is on screen now, from Jack Le Brocq's car from Winton earlier in the week. They did run both the cars for Jack, and Jaden Ojeda, who's the Erebus development driver. He ran with the number one on the car at the test, which obviously will be Kostecki's number. They've had to build 2 new cars over the winter, that one on screen and another one, because Will Brown's car from last year got wrote off at Adelaide, and they wanted to keep Kostecki's championship winner as was at the end of the season, with all the confetti all over it, and as it finished the race at Adelaide. So the team has had a massive undertaking over the Christmas and New Year break, and really what they didn't want was all of this drama going on. And as I said on the show last week, it's not the first time that Erebus have had drama with drivers over the last few years.
I'm so sleep deprived that when you said about the number one car, I just had SpongeBob in my head saying he was number one. So my brain's gone. So that was made me laugh. Adam Lemmer is in the chat, and he said, when I heard about this, I was shocked beyond belief. Couldn't believe it as well. I think we all like that as well, because it just doesn't make any sense to continue like nothing had happened. Because Supercars CEO Shane Howard released another statement in an open letter urging everyone to approach this situation with understanding, empathy, and patience. Now, former Triple A team owner Ronald Dane wrote an op-ed on speedcafe.com saying, and I quote, "A team that loses its biggest sponsors overnight is a team in disarray." Hi, Sauber. Now, we also have Dane's article included in the video description. He also stated that Kostecki should be on the grid as soon as possible, even if it means driving for a different team on such a short notice. Meanwhile, Erebus Motorsport CEO Barry Ryan has broken his silence in an interview with V8 Sleuth, saying the team is supporting each other because they know the truth, and that some of the stuff in the background is being blown out of proportion. Matt, starting with you on this one, is Roland Dane's spot on about the team being in disarray? And do you think that unprecedented events needs to be made to ensure that Kostecki is on the grid for the season opener, as you say, in 2 weeks' time?
Well, I think that ship has sailed to get Brodie on the grid for Bathurst in a couple of weeks. Roland would say that, wouldn't he? Being the Triple Eight head honcho for so many years, and they had Vodafone forever. Before that, as Adam will attest to, the better electrical cars before that, and of course Red Bull for the last decade. So they've got no problem with finding sponsors and keeping them, it seems. But something has to be going on. And those comments from Barry Ryan, it's typical Barry, just kind of shrugging it off as if kind of nothing's going on. When Will Brown left at the end of last season and they signed Jack Le Brocq, you think, yes, he's a race winner, but even that was a bit of a stretch to try. It's not the same driver lineup going on there, and now they've lost Brodie as well, and now they've lost all the sponsors. It is a team that seems to be crumbling from the middle outwards, and it's not a good look for them. That Shane Howard letter that he posted Monday, Tuesday was, as I posted in our Slack chat, the most pointless press release of the whole season, and it's only February. It was 350 words and said absolutely nothing at all, apart from Supercars going, it's not really anything to do with us, which is their right, because it isn't, but they'd love their champion to be back on the grid. So we'll have to see how, as we said last week and we said a little while ago, we'll have to see how this rolls out. Will Brodie be back for the Grand Prix and then onwards into the season? Only time will tell, but there needs to be less butting of heads and more hugs going on in Erebus land to get Brody back on the grid, I feel like.
Yeah, Matt, I have a feeling that this is not going to be the last time we're going to be talking about this story. Yeah, there's probably going to be development after development, and we're just going to keep uncovering this crazy story involving Erebus Motorsport and Brody Kostecki here on Grid tonight. In regards to what Roland Dane said, yeah, it's obvious the team is in disarray. You know, no matter how much Barry Ryan wants to say, you know, everything is good, the team is supporting each other, standing together. Looking from the outside in, you know, you can clearly see that something is clearly not right. Hopefully, we'll get a bit more clarity in the coming days and weeks ahead on the situation. But not having the defending Supercars champion on the grid, you know, that's not going to be good at all for the Supercars championship at all. And I know, you know, Roland Dane said that we need to try to get Brody Kostecki on the grid some way, somehow. And, you know, depending on the language in Brody's contract, you know, it might be hard, you know, for him to try to get on the grid because it might prevent him from actually signing with another team. But if they were able to, you know, get that sorted out to get him, you know, officially released from his contract where he could potentially, you know, join another team. I know some teams, you know, they plan, you know, these wild card entries, but it will be very difficult, you know, to put something together so late in the season. And also some teams, you know, they won't want to kick out their driver, you know, right before the season starts, you know, because, you know, then that's a whole nother can of worms you'll have to open up. I know a lot of teams will probably be interested, you know, in a driver like Brody Kostecki, the defending champion, and he'd be an upgrade over some of the drivers on the grid. But yeah, like I was saying, it would just you know, create another headache. You're like, oh, Brody's available. I'm gonna kick out so and so driver from this lineup and just plug him in so we can have him in for the whole season. Yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation that is unfolded. And like I said, hopefully we'll get some more answers moving forward.
We'll keep across it all here on the Grid Network as well as we get closer to the V8 Supercar season. It's actually just the Supercars now, isn't it? It's the UK that call it the V8 Supercars still. Even on the TV guide, it says V8 Supercars, which is really bizarre. But on to a more happier news story as well, because Andretti Global development driver Sebastian Weldon will compete full-time in the USF Junior Championship this year. Weldon will drive for VRD Racing with sponsorship from Gamebridge and Group 1001. His fire suit and car livery will match Colton Herta as a way to further showcase the Gamebridge family of athletes as well. In 2023, Weldon won the Skip Barber Formula Racing Series title, which gave him a $100,000 scholarship to compete in USF Junior after winning 6 races and scoring 13 podium finishes. I'm actually tearing up, you know, reading all this. I'm not even joking. The 2024 USF Junior Series gets underway in early April at NOLA Motorsports Park. The graphic courtesy there of Andretti Global. And to prove it to you that I am actually tearing up reading about this because all the memories of reading this of Dan is coming back in my head. Now, have you been encouraged by Sebastian's progress as he's continued to move the ladder system? And I'll start with you, Kobe.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Sebastian Weldon, especially today. I know, Josh, I know you just said that the official start date of the 2024 UF Junior season gets underway in early April, but right now they're actually running the winter series for the USF Juniors. And guess who won the pole today for his first race in this series? Sebastian Weldon. You can go and check that out on the Andretti Global social media pages. They posted about it, and you know, a lot of people were feeling the emotion seeing the young Weldon been able to do this. He was very impressive last season, you know, in the Skip Barber Racing Series, as you mentioned, and it really seemed like, you know, he has his dad's talent. And watching the Weldon boys come up the road to Indy ladder system, I have a feeling we're going to be in for quite a treat, and it would not surprise me if we see both boys racing full time someday in the NTT IndyCar Series. And once that day happens, there are not going to be any dry eyes. You know, there's going to be a lot of emotion because, you know, Dan Weldon was so loved by many around the motorsports community, and to see, you know, the love and passion that he had for motorsports and his 2 sons, Sebastian and Oliver, it's been very special to watch, and I can't wait to see what these two young guys are able to do with their racing career moving forward.
Yeah, it's tremendous. The stats back it up, and as Kobe said, he's jumped into a new formula and topped the time sheet straight away. So he's on the way. He's got full support from Michael and the whole of the Andretti team. You know, that small team that we talked about for almost an hour on the show last week. That we'll go back and watch last week's show if you want to hear about our thoughts on Andretti. But it was all positive, and this is another string to the positive bow at Andretti with the 2 Weldon boys coming through. And as Kobe said, if they do make it, one of them, if not both of them, make it all the way to the top, to the NTT IndyCar Championship, there will be massive emotion from everybody if they can get there and be successful, because that would be a very, 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 very happy story for everybody involved.
I remember that race at Vegas, as everybody does, and the accident. And I'm replaying it in my mind right now, because we were on board with him, and then all of a sudden it was the crash, and then everything went silent as well, and it was horrific. And then I remember another fact of this. I hope everybody does remember this, actually, because his wonderful wife built a store with all the profits going to charity, if I remember correctly. And I think it was either 2012 or 2013 at St. Petersburg. All of the drivers turned up on when it launched and gave their support as well. And I remember seeing the 2 boys, and it was just got into me. It's getting to me now. There's a tremble in the voice. And as you say, soon as they reach there, and just imagine either one of them win the 500. I mean, I will be the first one in tears. I can tell you that, commentating. Just a wonderful news story as well. And further to the positive news, as we've touched upon, because it was announced earlier today that Oliver Weldon will step up to car racing for the first time. Like his older brother did last year, Oliver will compete in the Skip Barber Formula Racing Series. The 12-year-old driver is also a 2-time champion in the SK USA Winter Series, the 2020 and 2022 years, and the Row Cup FWT 2020 and 2021 champion. He said he's excited to race with Skip Barber this year and plans to lean on his older brother for advice. Graphic order of courtesy there of Andretti Global. It's just insane. I remember them tiny as well. And after watching Sebastian win this championship last year, will there be additional pressure on Oliver to do the same, Matt?
Well, I don't think there's any pressure on either of these guys to do this. If they wanted to go, you know what, we're done at any point, I think we can quite happily let them off. But it's in the blood, isn't it? And they're doing Big Daddy proud, as you mentioned, Josh. That Vegas, there's 3 things from the whole Weldon thing that just always get to me. I can't watch the end of the 500 from 2011. The Brian Herter radio call as he crossed the line gets me every single time. Obviously Vegas, and then Helio Castro Neves winning in St. Petersburg, the opening race of the year after, and doing the Spider-Man on Dan Weldon way on the sign every single time. Just I'm gone. But yeah, these 2 are they're gonna do something special. They can do, their individual stuff in IndyCar, and then you know what, they can team up with an Andretti team in IMSA and go and win the Rolex as well. How's that? That would be a story, wouldn't it? The
best. I forgot about that. The Spider-Man and hitting it, and the Delage actually being called the DW12. I thought, so missed. So missed.
Yes. So many things going on, and I'm at a loss of words right now because it's really rare. We have not so positive stories. I'll talk about like Erebus Motorsport stuff and Andretti from last week. But it's very rare, you get an overwhelmingly positive feel good story like the Weldon boys. And yeah, Matt, I totally agree with everything you were saying about Oliver there. There's gonna be no pressure at all. But I do expect Oliver to run really well in the series, and it would not surprise me to see the Weldon boys go back to back in the Skip Barber Formula Race Series Championship with Sebastian winning last year. It would not surprise me if Oliver is the 2024 champion as well. The future is really bright for Dan Weldon's sons. I know above in the sky he's looking down on them and so proud to see what they've been able to accomplish so far and what they are going to accomplish in the future. And like you were saying, Matt, it's just in the blood with them. They have that lion heart. Yeah, and it's going to be fun to watch and see what they do moving forward.
To quote Senator Palpatine, we will watch their career with great interest. Now, on to our third story. With GMS Racing shutting down, Rajah Caruth has finally found a new home in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Caruth will drive the number 71 Chevrolet Silverado full-time for Spire Motorsports. Is it Spire or Spire? I
Spire.
can't remember the two. Spire. I thought so, yeah. I said it. I thought, why you said Spire? Spire. Spire Motorsports. HendrickCars.com will be the primary sponsor for 10 racing, starting with next Friday night's season opener at Daytona. Chad Walter will be the crew chief, and in 2023, Cars has got 4 top 10 finishes in the Truck Series, and he finished 16th in the points. He also made select starts in the Xfinity Series, including a start with Hendrick Motorsports at the end of 2023 at Phoenix. Graphic courtesy there of Spire Motorsports. Now, Rajah showed glimpses of his potential in several races last year, and also some growing pains as well. Will there be a higher expectations on him ahead of 2024?
It's difficult to say. This obviously deal has come together quite late, but he's got a big name on the side of the truck. And he's one of the NASCAR sort of picks at the moment. It was all over the media a little bit through last year, especially. And but on the track, as you say, got some decent results. But when he wasn't getting those results, he was quite often finding himself in scrapes, some of his own doing and some not. He's one of those to use a MotoGP parlance from 15 years ago. He's the Marco Simoncelli. He's so fast, but he needs to stop crashing, and he could go places. There's definitely something in there with Rajah, but a lot of the time, as I say, he gets himself into some trouble. So let's hope this year he can keep himself out of the caution flag more often than not, get himself some good results and maybe a win here or there. And if he can get himself into the playoff contention at the end of the season, as we know, anything can happen, especially in the Truck Series.
Formula One's on the main television here in the commentary box, and it's Logan Sargent who's crashed in the wall. I think there's no better description of the two. Very similar to causing yellows in the later half of last year as well. Adam says, cool story about Rajah on Black History Month. Absolutely. As well. And hopefully everybody is respecting Black History Month and enjoying all of the fantastic news stories that have been coming out as well over this past month, because I think it's been a really impressive month for news stories as well, for more inclusivity in motorsports as well. It's been great, but we'll get into hots and nots later about the Formula One side of things, which has been non-stop. But right now it's time for the latest from the Grid EPI update, so I'll hand over to Matt.
Thank you, Josh. 4 races now down on 2024 for the Grid Endurance Performance Index. We had our latest round of it at the weekend. It was part of the Asian Le Mans Series, which was back into action. They had 2 races before Christmas at Sepang, and round 3 of their series was this weekend at the Dubai Autodrome, which of course was in action last weekend as well for the 24-hour. The race was won overall and in LMP2 by Amadeo Harty, Louis Delatraz, who was on the podium at Daytona last weekend, and Nikita Mazepan, yes, him, getting a victory in LMP2. In LMP3, it was won by James Winslow and Alex Bukhansov, and the GT3 race was won for Porsche by Alex Malikin, Joel Strum, and Klaus Bachler. The championship continues this weekend at Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi with the next 2 races, 2 4-hour encounters, one Saturday and one Sunday, which wraps up the Asian Le Mans Series calendar for the year. And it did shape the first few months of the Grid Endurance Performance Index. We'll have the first week run 1 ranking at the beginning of April. So a couple of races to come this weekend. That'll start to shape the leaderboard as we start making our way through the year. And then it's on to Bathurst for the 12-hour the week after. So that's it now. The Grid EPI is up and away and off and running for 2024. We'll give you the results of those 2 Abu Dhabi races in this slot on this show this time next week. Now it's time to hand to Kobe with a couple more headlines from the motorsport world.
Thanks, Matt. Now it's time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Kevin Harvick Incorporated is returning to full-time racing with plans to enter late model stocks and super late models. KHI announced that 6 drivers will drive for their team: Brent Cruz, Josh Berry, William Sawalich, Lane Riggs, Landon Lewis, and Ryan Preece. Cruz will drive the number 29 Mobil 1 Toyota in the Cars Tour late model stock division, while Berry, Riggs, Sawalich, and Lewis will share the number 62 KHI late model stock. On the other hand, Preece, Berry, Sawalich, and Lewis will split driving duties in the team's number 62 and number 29 in select super late models event, graphic courtesy of KHI. Kyle Collette will compete in Indy next this year with HMD Motorsports, driving the number 18 Dallara. Collette drove an Indy Next car for the first time last October at the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test in Indianapolis and was 5th fastest. He returned in November to test with the team in November at Barber Motorsports, where he finished the day's 2nd fastest, showing his ability to quickly adapt to the car. Collette spent the last 3 seasons in Formula 3, finishing 9th, 8th, and 9th again in the championship, winning 3 sprint races in Hungary, Zandvoort, and Spa-Francorchamps. He said his goal for the future is making it to the NTT IndyCar Series, but he's fully focused on his Indy Next program. Graphic courtesy of H&D Motorsports. And on a separate note, he's also the reserve driver for the Nissan Formula E team as well. And a final story, 3-time NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion Justin Bonsignore will make his ARCA Menard Series debut at Daytona International Speedway. Bonsignore will drive the number 30 Ford for Rhett Jones Racing. Last month, he participated in the preseason test at Daytona with Andy Hillenberg's Fast Track Enterprises team, but was able to put together a deal to race at the World Center Racing with Rhett Jones Racing. Bonsignore said the ARCA race at Daytona will be one of the biggest races of his career, and the Modified Tour will forever be his home, but being able to race at Daytona will be great to live out his dream. And that's it for our 3 news stories. Now I'm going to turn over to Matt for Hots and Knots.
Yes, no pick of winners to do tonight, but I've looked at the calendar and I believe it's the last weekend, this weekend coming up, is the last weekend where there'll be no pick of winner until the end of November. So make sure you're all over that on the social medias over the next few weeks, especially next weekend or 2 weeks' time, when it's Daytona, WRC Sweden, and the Supercars Championship coming up as well in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a busy, busy time for pick a winner. Josh is with me to do Hots and Knots. The floor is yours, Josh, for your Hot of the Week.
My Hot of the Week has to go, I think, to MotoGP and their testing coverage that they've done. I know it's been limited, and I know we'd rather all see it out there live than in Formula One. But there has been long periods of time this past week of testing where they've not been out on the track. I've been staring at a blank time on the screen. So their little updates out there have been working really well. And to have both, 32 and then 34,000 viewers was good. And my personal hot is now, if you remember all the trouble I had last year, throughout the entire test, every time MotoGP have gone live on their social medias, I've beaten them in the ratings. So just a little yes to me.
Well done to you.
Thank you. That's my little personal hot that I've got one up on MotoGP. My actual hot though of the week has to be, for once, there hasn't been any massive, like, oh my God, this is earth-shattering news. We've been a lot of busy news to keep up with, but it's not that one where last week where we had Lewis Hamilton moving over. It's all sort of been slowly expected, and a few of them been small. The only big one that's coming up we can't talk about yet because we don't actually know what's going on. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? That's hot.
Yeah, we may talk about that. Probably will be talking about that on the show next week.
We'll probably need another emergency one at this rate. If tomorrow's right.
If you know, you know. My hot is NASCAR for looking at the weather radar and going, yes, let's do it now on Saturday. There was no hanging around, which there has been in the last previous years where we've just sat through races that have ended up finishing on a Tuesday. They got ahead of the weather and they got the race in. A not to that is it was a free event and nobody showed up.
Yeah.
If that had happened in Los Angeles 2 hours before a basketball game or a football game at the Coliseum, or the Lakers game at the Staples Center, it's free. Come on down. It would have been absolutely rammed. You would never got anywhere near it. It's just a shame that NASCAR couldn't get a lot of people obviously were coming from out of town and couldn't get there in time. And hopefully they'll get their tickets refunded, and I'm sure that will happen. But shame that the grandstand at the Coliseum was pretty dire. I have another not to come, but we'll pick up on Matthew Owens' comment on screen. I think the biggest hot of the week has to be NASCAR's decision to move the clash up by 24 hours to avoid the biblical rain that came through on Sunday. We had something very similar here at this time yesterday at the commentary in my part of the world. It was absolutely throwing it down. Yes, Ben, a positive on NASCAR. I know it is quite surprising. I have a not, but I'll let Josh do his first.
Right, I took my glasses off. I don't know why I did that. Are you ready for this? I have the list. In the past 12 days, this has been the Formula One news. Hamilton moves to Ferrari, and this, by the way, is a tweet by @Jeep_Olsen, where I've got the full list from. So this is what's happened in the past 12 days alone. Hamilton moves to Ferrari. Andretti bid is rejected. Steiner was canned. Horner may have to resign. More on that later. Then it's Sauber can't be called stake. The Singapore Grand Prix might not be a thing. The Barcelona Grand Prix might not be a thing. The Chicago Grand Prix might be a thing. The Madrid Grand Prix is a thing. Suzuka is a thing until 2029 at least. The schedule might be extended to 30 races. 3 PUs per season limitation is increased to 4. That's a good thing. Sprint weekend format changes. That's a bad thing. And then we go in with Leclerc's Spotify was hacked. Norris extends with McLaren. Nick de Vries has to pay back his 250,000 racing loan. Australia is back as their season opening in 2025. That hasn't been announced yet. Leclerc extends with Ferrari, and the Wolves have been accused and cleared of passing confidential insider information. That's in the last 12 days. I mean, what on earth is going on in Formula One? It's like you turn on you literally wake up in the morning. It's like, what the hell's going to happen today? Because at this point, I'm genuinely, I said earlier, the ghost of Ayrton Senna is going to be announced as the replacing Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes at this point. Nothing would surprise me. There is so much that is just developing. And I must say, Frederick Vasseur is a genius. Because if his plan was watch this space at Ferrari, he knew he was getting Hamilton in midway through last year. And now we're hearing that if we can't talk about Christian Horner just yet because there's nothing official until Friday. But what we've heard is that if Christian Horner goes, there's also a loophole that we see Adrian Newey go. And Adrian Newey wants to work with Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari tie-up for 2026. So, I don't know. Ferrari are suddenly becoming geniuses at strategy. And it's all accidental. It's really bizarre, man. I can't explain it.
I know. The whole Ferrari strategy bungle of the last 3 or 4 years somehow has managed to work itself out of the knot that it's been in for all that time and is... seemingly coming right just at the right time before a new regulation set.
Yeah. What's hot? Josh's MotoGP coverage.
Yeah.
Oh, I think.
Yeah, and what's not the Alpine reveal today?
Oh God, that hate.
Well, the WEC car looks very good.
That looks gorgeous.
The which also was revealed today, but the F1 car, much to my plea from a couple of weeks ago about McLaren's livery, and please run that livery. Alpine are again doing their split livery for the first couple of races like they did last year with the pink car, although this time it's mostly black.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I literally thought it's worse. Yeah. I said it's worse on the watch along. I was afraid of the big news you were teasing. Well, oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
My knot. You've covered most of it. Was if you're. I mean, we're in it, right? We're motorsport fans, and we all the news, everything. But if you were to have a friend that past interest maybe on, let's just say Formula One, but obviously there's the Brody thing going on and other things that are going on around the motorsport world. What's happening in Formula One at the minute, Matt? Oh, well, so they won't let another team in. Lewis is moving. One of the team bosses sacked/resigned just after Christmas. Another one of the big ones might be in real trouble. This doesn't happen in like cricket or tennis.
It doesn't. No.
But just all of this news in, as you said, like 2 weeks basically has just landed in our laps. From the outside, people that don't follow Formula One as closely as we do, but just catch a headline and going, "What is going on?"
We're saying the same thing.
They're not even on the track. Testing's not for another couple of weeks either. And we've still got all of those more launches next week, which is going to be a busy launch week next week with all the other teams that are still to launch. And then it's off to, I take it is Barcelona for the first test.
No, it's Bahrain.
To Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain, yeah. And then a week later, we're racing.
After the Grand Prix, of course. So, yeah, all of this F1 news, and really, none of it's positive.
No, it's all negative.
The sprint thing, as you touched on, just silly. As I tweeted back to you, because we're going to have the sprint race, the sprint, on Saturday mornings now. That will probably be followed by the F2 race, and then they'll come back out for qualifying. But if you damage your car in the sprint race, you might not be ready for qualifying for the main Grand Prix.
It's mad.
There's no way to fix this schedule apart from to have it on Friday.
I kind of liked what they did. Just if we've got to have it, I'd much rather have practice and then the sprint quali, then normal quali, then the sprint race and the race. Or, hear me out, don't have the sprint.
Well, I mean, Yes, 99.9% of people, I think, would agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, but
At
Stefano
least
Domenicali is the 10% in his head.
You know, when I said last week, F1 have looked at NASCAR's race in Chicago and gone, "Oh, we'll have a bit of that." Don't tell them that MotoGP have a sprint race every week. Please don't do that, because they'll be straight on that one. If
Speaking
they can
of
get the TV.
speaking of MotoGP, Argentina's been cancelled over there. We've got riders who again have had crashes, not even on MotoGP bikes, aren't going to be there. Yeah,
that was another of my knocks. Is already we had the whole of MotoGP season last year where we didn't have the full rider lineup on the grid at any one time, and already we've got Franco Morbidelli and Raul Fernandez broken already before the season's already started.
Yeah, now I've been covering it on my little handwritten notes with the running schedule I've had. It was 20 minutes into the test. 20 minutes. Bagnaia apparently either dropped fluids and then hit a damp patch, and then all that together with the damp, because the track was damp when they started on day one because it rained the night before. And then the next on the scene was Raul Fernandez, and he came across it, got the accelerator, and it high-sided him, and it hit him on the back. So he went back out the track later on the day because MotoGP's got no concussion protocols or anything, and complained of dizziness. And then just backed out of the test. So he's gone. And then we've got Morbidelli, who's not in this test or the LaSalle test.
Yeah, he crashed in that track day they had at Portimao, didn't they, last week or 10 days ago, whenever it was. So
yeah, and Marc Marquez
it's all happening in MotoGP already.
We are in the busiest off-season I have ever seen in my life. It's all happening. And I just thought, literally, we've gone from being bored in December to sort of getting resurrected in January. And now we're in February. It's like they've just hit us with a cattle prod. It's
running around with our heads on fire.
I know. Oh, it's mad. Speaking of heads on fire, how long until we see Romain Grosjean complaining again? Because he's already stirring around on social media, isn't he, about returning to Formula One as a possibility, isn't he? He's been hanging around with a couple of seats. It's like, that's not going to do great because they don't want him in Formula One. There's a reason that Grosjean was sacked before he became the Phoenix. So it was weird. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm out of knots. Actually, another one.
Yeah,
I'm running. Literally, there's a possibility that tomorrow's MotoGP or tonight's MotoGP test might not go the full distance because there was rain incoming. So we might only get 4 hours. So the first 4 hours are going to be very crucial for the riders to learn as much as they can on this setup of the bike, and then they might do a couple of laps in the wet. But if it gets too much, we'll see a red flag, and the test ends early. Oh no!
I get to go to bed at 6 a.m. It'll look like the 2009 Formula One race at Sepang.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the level we're expecting. But that means I get to go to bed 4 hours early. So I'm happy with that.
One extra quick part before I just remembered is that the season for me and for Adam potentially as well starts this week because we've got Australian racing at Sandown this weekend and then it's Bathurst next weekend. That's a hot.
Definitely. And it's the last race weekend, I think, without any racing.
Yeah, pretty much, because obviously next weekend it's the 500 and then on we go from there.
Right, everybody, mark your diaries. Go spend time with your family because you won't see them again until November/December or bed, yeah. So mark the calendar. But the Grid Network is the place to be for your pre, post, and Grid Tonight and encore shows on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. I think we only take Tuesday off, actually, don't we? Because there's always something on. And okay, so with that in case, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel now so that you don't miss any of our biggest shows of the year. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 850 subscribers on the road to 1,000. Please do help us get another 50 so we can get to 900 as well. And then we can just make a giant push for the 1,000 as well. Daytona in the rearview mirror says behind the mic. Absolutely. Now, hit the bell icon as well to get notifications for when we go on the air. Follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. And you can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew who invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. The link to that is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want, and consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. You can also support us during our live streams through Super Chat as well. And I also just want to quickly add, it was announced today that the British Touring Car Championship will have their launch day at Donington Park on April the 16th. It is free to enter. So Tuesday, April 16th, if you want to get down to Donington, see some touring cars, they'll do a 4-hour test and you can get into the paddock. It's free. I'm going. If you're in the UK, I highly anticipate going because it will not be, well, hang on, it will be worth it. It won't be a letdown. So for Kobe Lambert, is it unmissable? Thank you. My sleep-deprived brain. I need sleep. So hopefully after this, I'll get refreshed. And hopefully you can join us next week on the Grid Tonight Show. So for Kobe Lambert and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Good morning.